Representative Justin Jones pointed out in that clip we just played, the most amplified voices of the Republican Party have used religion to justify bigotry, to justify hatred, to justify racism, even when what they are doing could actually be considered immoral. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Alicia. My thoughts about this are very clear. I think what the Republican Party is doing, and in this case, in the Tennessee state legislature, is to use God as an excuse, to use their morality, as I talk about in my book, as a shield to protect them from having to answer the serious questions. I mean, all of this is discontinuity. When you think about, oh, we have rights, about guns, where is that in scripture? That's not there. And when you think about also not speaking about slavery, not teaching about slavery, not allowing children to have certain books in the libraries, all of these things are based in what they believe there are their moral codes. But what they do is break our democracy. They don't allow other people to have freedom of speech, freedom to read what they want, freedom to speak out against slavery and injustice and racism. And I believe what happened with the representative when he quoted scripture back to the gentleman who said, he bases everything on God and facts. Well, he didn't have very many facts. All he kept saying was God, and God was not a good enough protection in this particular case.
Professor Butler, one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that I spoke with you is that I think it is easy to imagine that some of this is new. And the truth is, it's not new. There's a long history of religion being weaponized in this country. Talk us through how it is that we have arrived at this moment.
We've arrived at this moment in part because we are a nation that started out enslaving people. We enslaved Africans. And the way that people justified that was through scripture. They said that Black people were not really actually human, that they were another creation, that they were supposed to be slaves because of the curse of Ham. So we can start there and think about large denominations like the Southern Baptists, who broke apart from Northern Baptists over the issue of slavery because they wanted to hold slaves. If we move that forward, we could start to think about the ways in which Native Americans and others were treated in the late 19th and early 20th century because they were considered to be heathens and needed to be Christianized. And that is a huge problem. When we get to the 1950s and we start to talk about someone like Billy Graham, who said that communism was a religion and that it was evil, and that also that people who believed in racial justice and in pushed forward the civil rights movement, like Martin Luther King, they were also called non-Christian because they wanted to have equality for people. And so when we get to the 70s and we start to think about women's rights and rights for LGBT people, all of these things were couched in religious terms. In other words, women should not be able to go out and work and have an equal wage. Anybody who was gay or transgender or something like that was not seen to be part of humanity because of what people believe their reading of scripture was. And so this has been a big history in America. And what we're seeing now is not new. It's something that has gone on throughout our history. And we need to start to recognize that and to call it out for what it is.